Hey, 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 as we know, life is full of surprises, both good and bad, and the day-to-day journey is full of unforeseen obstacles, and sometimes it's hard for us to see our way through. Beyond the norm and mundane or where unscripted dreams live, join us for thought-provoking discussions and interviews to help us navigate through the fog and create our own path. We are the Unscripted Dream Podcast, operating outside the margins to motivate and inspire our audience. If you're listening to us, feel free to tap in and share um, links of our shows or at least of our channel or whatnot, our social handles, and spread the word or spread the message. If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to click that like and subscribe button. We'll greatly appreciate that. So for today's episode, we're really going to talk about success and basically explaining success and it being inconvenient. So success is inconvenient in some capacities, and we'll get further into that. But I think to start this off, man, and do this right and do this justice is let's just do like an overview. So when you think of success, man, success often requires a significant amount of time and effort, or more or less an investment. Um, and basically to associate that with inconvenience, in the process of doing all this, you run into a bunch of road bumps, uh, mishaps, unfortunate events on your road to success. What we call it is, the struggle, like trust the process, so to speak. So we try to encourage people to get through that, but sometimes some of those inconveniences can really derail you from where you intently tried to get to. And depending on how you look at it, or depending on your attitude or spirit as an individual, that really can disturb you or disrupt what you have going on. So let's open up with the first talking point. The first talking point really is risk and uncertainty. So when I think of success, it often involves taking risk and facing a great amount of uncertainty. This is why often I hear people, or I see people, or I actually know people that are afraid of success and afraid of their own success just because they know that the dynamics around them may change. Maybe they're comfortable enough to where they've mastered um, their circumference, or they got too comfortable in a sense of where they are, their surroundings, their life situations, objectives, everything, to a point where they're afraid to challenge and go higher just because they know what that means. Great example. When I talk to some people that are maybe older, this is more common in people that are older. And you would talk to them about, hey, you've got all this experience at this job or whatnot, man. You've been working at Kmart for how many years?
Oh,
Elroy been working there for 30 years, and he knows exactly the ins and outs. He know everybody by full name. He knows more than he probably should know for his role. But the thing is, Elroy knows how to do every job in that system. It's just that he doesn't want to deal with the complexities or the problems or issues that come with those roles. So he could basically be a loss prevention position, or he could simply be someone that's in like tech, like around the TVs or whatever, electronics or whatever. He's perfectly fine being in that space. He's comfortable in his own skin, but he also is capable of, actually running the store. He just doesn't want to deal with what comes with that. And I see that happen a lot with people as far as when we're relating to risk and uncertainty. Like I feel like, I guess the best question to ask, Marcus, is what do you think really stops people from doing that? What's the fear out of that? Do you think it's more so being lazy, or do you think there's like some real fear behind that?
I don't know. Well, I don't think it's laziness. I think it's more fear than anything else. And if you're wondering what Kmart is, I don't even know if there's any more open, but it's a store. Joe agent, both of us talk about Kmart. Uh,
Hey,
but
man,
but uh, but
just in
I
case
mean, I used to
somebody's
work.
working at a functional, corp, I don't want somebody to be down in the dumps because,
Hey, man,
they might take offense to what I'm saying.
no, I used to work. I worked at Kmart for 5 years in college.
How
So
about how about Best Buy then? Is that better?
yeah, man, we it's what people can relate. You talking about relics, a relic of the past, man. But but no, I think it's more so fear. I think it's more so fear, and it might be. Oh, I'm trying to not add unnecessary complexity to it, but also, someone might be looking at it, and it's a question of is it even worth assuming that additional responsibility? But as far as the fear, I really just want to address the fear piece because when you look at what the question, this imaginary person that you're talking about, Joe, is a lot of people. It really relates to a lot of people, and you're asking yourself a question of if what does success mean to you? Is the risk worth taking? And are you comfortable? I've met people, I'm sure you've met people too, Joe. They just good. Like wherever they're at, they're content with that. So if you're content, I don't know. I don't really think this message or what we're talking about might not be directed towards you, but if you're in a circumstance where you look at your position where you're at and you're not happy with it and you want more, this is more so where fear gets in the way because it's stopping you from jumping out of that comfort zone into a place to where you're going to be uncomfortable and it is going to be difficult because you're transitioning to a place where you've never been before. And you also risk there's comfort in knowing what you're doing. There's comfort in not taking risks. And I think that is something that you might overlook. But risk is just a part of life. And it really kind of gets into how bad you want it as well. But also just acknowledge the outcome. I guess some people don't take the risk. Like they say, all right, well, I'm comfortable. I don't want to do anything. I'm good. Give me here in my little cubicle. I'm comfortable here. I'm skilled. I put all this work in. I put all this time in. I'm good here. But then there's another place where you might challenge yourself. You might fail, and the reward might be great, but it's going to be uncomfortable to kind of reach that level of success for yourself. So I think it really just boils down to what you as an individual really want, what your expectations are, and if it's like, man, who's the guy on YouTube? I think his channel is called Sprout. Sprout. I think it's Sprout. But you see the interviews where they interview older people. Joe talk about old people, and you be careful with that. Joe talk
Yeah.
about old people, but a kid would call us old, and I'm not over 40, but I think a 10-year-old might think like, yeah, you're pretty old, man. But it's like whatever, but you have to think about and watch those videos. That's why I talked about Sprout's channel is because he actually goes out and he just he asks a lot of people, but he does ask people that are maybe like 50 plus, like if they have regrets and things like that. And you see that a lot of a lot of their regrets are associated with the lack of taking risks. And that's what you'll find as you get older a lot of people I see, they regret not making certain decisions that were a bit more riskier. But I definitely jumped around your question. I'm not even sure if I answered it, to be honest.
That's fine, man. You actually segued into the back end of this talking point. So when
Right.
we talked about risk and uncertainty, man, as being pretty much what comes with it, like you're mandated to dealing with that when it comes to success in 99.9% of the time. It's also accompanied by what we call delayed gratification. And basically what that
Yeah.
means, man, is delayed gratification is one of those things where you don't reap the benefits till later. So when you're on the road to success, man, you don't necessarily reap those benefits till later down the road. And depending on what you're going after or what you're trying to accomplish, you may not see that for some years, maybe even decades. So if you're thinking of someone that's, hey, I want to be a millionaire before it's all over with, 9 times out of 10, um, probably 9.5 times out of 10, if you want to be a multimillionaire, it's not going to come to you within the first few decades of your life. It's usually on the back end of your life. It may sound crazy just because you see so many people that are highlighted in the media that are like young. Those one offers. Those are those special people. Like a lot of moving parts had to happen for them to get there. Or they found, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. A lot of moving parts didn't happen for them to get there. Or they inherited possibly.
You know, what's interesting about that is that when you see stories like that, I don't know if people understand how much of an outlier those people are.
Yeah.
And you really think about something that we see every day that's not impressive. What's something that's not impressive to people that a lot of us just do? every day.
Take out the trash.
Take out the garbage. If there was a all right, listen. Now I know there's some kinds of creators out there that can make it. I seen a guy throw a trash bag like on top of his house and then it rolls off and then it's like all these contraptions and stuff and things like that. But I'm talking about like think about why those stories like get so much attention is because it doesn't happen very often. And that's why when you really look at it, like those people that are like, maybe they're like teens or in their early 20s or something, early 20s or things like that. When you see these stories, the reason we gravitate to them is because it doesn't happen very often. And it seems like there's a lot more of it than what it is. And now with like social media and things like that, some of that stuff is not real either. So
Right.
you see the people like renting private jets for like an hour to do a photo shoot and like they rent cars and things like that. But what I think Joe trying to get at is that like those are really outliers of people that are like they're the exception. So it's not like what we see, like you don't see you see that one success, but then there's like 10,000 failures for that one person to make it. And it really
Absolutely.
paints this picture. I think it really paints this picture. And that's always my gripe with like 30 under 30, 40 under 40. You realize that's not a lot of people. Like there's like 8 billion people in the world. Those people are exceptions. And there's a lot of people's stories that we never hear because they didn't make it. They didn't make it or they just cooked and they got cooked and they burned out, and I think that we don't take that into account when we see like a lot of these stories and just don't process the fact that like these are like some exceptional people that like Joe said, they probably got maybe some people are talented, they're rare. It does happen, but some people had like a major assist from family, which is great. Listen, if I throw me an assist, if we're related, I'll take it. Like hey, that's the perks of being a part of a family that's making moves. Like
Right.
you get to make moves faster. It's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that either. But that's another conversation for another day. But but I kind of leave it there before I go on a tangent.
Well, just to end or wrap this part talking point up, man, with delayed gratification, like the inconvenience in that lies in like the patience, the perseverance needed during this period of delayed gratification. A lot of times you spend like, man, when am I going to get there? When am I going to finally make it? You know what I'm saying? And then the crazy part about it is, say you do reach your end goal. Do you really stop right there? No. I bet you probably find something else to pursue at that point.
Yeah,
So that's just how it is. As being a human and part of human nature, you're always thinking of what's the next thing to conquer or accomplish or achieve. That's the human way. If you don't think so, then I don't know, maybe you've been hiding under a rock, but everything I know is anything that you utilize, you know what I'm saying? You're always thinking about how you can upgrade yourself or upgrade that per se. Um, that's just how things work.
yeah. And success is one of those things where it's all relative, right? It's whatever you make. But there also is a point of you have to come to terms with doing stuff you don't want to do. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I can tell you, past few years, I can tell you the people that don't make it, they don't know how to work. They don't know how to work when they don't want to. So you have to get, especially like if you're like a solopreneur too, you're someone who just like, listen, your business doesn't run. If you're a solopreneur and you don't have money, you can't hire people, you can't hire VA, assistants, employees, all sorts of stuff. Your business lives and dies with you. And if you don't have the ability to do work when you don't feel like it, like, listen, I know people showing up to jobs they don't want to do all the time. Take
Yeah.
that same energy and just do the work that you need to do, because you're going to have to get like it almost becomes like a mode that you just switch on. Like, all right, I don't feel like it, so let me just go ahead and do this work anyway. Because you don't make any progress if you don't do the work, and that's the thing that like that's the inconvenience of it is that like there's sacrifices that's tied to it, and then it's just a matter of just sitting there and like I almost think a good way to think about it is like think about the amount of time you spend doing things you don't want to do that are like work related or even stuff you. I know some of you people like don't listen to this, don't be want to hang out with your family, some of your friends and stuff. You still show up though. You still show
Yeah.
up. You do that shift at grandma's house or at your uncle, auntie's, or your sibling's house that you don't want to do. You do that shift, and then you take your butt home and you do what you want to do. but uh, but But what I'm saying is that it's kind of like the same mentality, like when you have those things that you dread doing just in your everyday life. Like I know it's people who don't want to see like some of their family or some of their fake friend. I call it if you want to see your friends, it's not it's fake friend. But anyway, anyway, it's just learning to do things when you don't feel like it. And that's like it's really a difficult thing to do. But if you're the only driver, like if there's no other drivers in whatever you're working, like if you're trying to lose weight and you don't go to the gym, what's that drug? I know there's that drug that's popular. People are losing weight and whatnot, whatever. But if you're not willing to put the work in and there's no cheat code, no cheat code for you, then there's really nothing that you can do, and you have to become accustomed to that. And I think that's where a lot of like entrepreneurs, a lot of in particular solopreneurs kind of struggle is that you realize that it's hard and you could leave your job that you hate, be tired, but then have to go home and actually lock in and do a whole shift of whatever other thing you're working on so you can escape that. So you have to almost the way I do it, like the way I kind of see it is you have to create almost, well, this is one way to do it. Create a future reality for yourself and what that looks like. And then put that up against your current reality. If you're not happy with it, and just take actions that will move you to your future reality because you can't escape. Like the only escape is to do the work unless you hit the lotto, which is astronomical odds, which people do weekly, play the lotto and never win. but but yeah, it's tough though. It's tough. But Joe, I guess what would you say to people that just like have a that maybe are trying to find a way to really make it work? They have an idea of success. They know what they want, but the actual figuring out the actions to take are difficult for them. What would you tell those folks?
Well, I'll tell you this. Uh, Success is just one part of the whole design or foundation of being what considered a winner. So like you can be successful at some things and you might have a good run, but how can you keep it going? And I don't know if you know this, but anybody that's a winner or that's really had the real taste of some success, they want to keep things running. And like I said before, in human nature, you get an experience of some good stuff or you get exposed to something that you really like. What are you going to do? You're going to pursue it even more and try to say, hey, I conquered this. What's next? So, I mean, naturally, once you reach a certain level, you're going to try to graduate to the next level or at least keep this running or maintain. So, what do you have to do? That's called discipline. If you don't have discipline, man, you're not going to make a strong run. I know we reference music a lot, but it's a good reference. How many people come out with one hit single for 1 year, and some of them hit singles might last for a decade or two. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is there's a lot of one hit wonders out there, and other people, you can see the difference, had a more disciplined approach to the music game where they might not have that one big hit like the one person did. They had the one big hit and fell off, but they're consistent. So when you think of like consistent and they have a buzzworthy name, think of someone like who's popular that's got a buzzworthy name that's pretty consistent. I'm not trying to name like people in my social group because a lot of people aren't familiar with them. Um, I don't know, maybe like a Wiz Khalifa. I don't know, a Snoop Dogg. You know what I'm saying? Like when you think of like those people, and maybe they might not have been, maybe they got tired of music, right? But the whole point is they transcended to something else where they could keep that level of fame going. They're so well established and so accomplished in certain things. They were able to tackle something else and they applied the same skill set that they used to get to where they are, and they made those skills more or less transferable to the next thing moving. And they basically followed the money. That's the best way I could really put it. So when you think of someone like maybe like a Will Smith, so you like, okay, he's got summertime. Okay, like that ain't going nowhere. If you ever heard the song Summertime, but he transcended into acting and If he didn't, we probably wouldn't be hearing much about him. He'd be still considered, uh, uh, ideally a one hit wonder in our eyes. But realistically, I mean, he's got a couple hits, but that's the one he's well known for. But what I'm trying to say is like, since he transcended into like movies to where like he's infected or impacted generations that grew up on watching him, like me, for an example, like me watching him in Bad Boys, me watching him in Men in Black, Enemy of the State, Wild Wild West, which is one of the worst movies he made, but it was all right. To me it was because in my eyes, you couldn't tell me no wrong. Like it's Will Smith, like he's awesome. So I am Legend. Like I can go down the list of how many blockbuster movies he's had. He has over 20 blockbuster movies. I mean, check his resume. He definitely does. But what I'm trying to say is like people that literally are addicted to success or that are attracted to success, they have something about them where they're disciplined enough to get up each day to really grind for it. Like there's like basically they found out a blueprint along each step of the way of their course of success and they never let it go. They kept it going. When you think of certain like athletes, you're like, damn, how does he stay in shape over all these years and he's not even competing anymore? Easy. That's what kept him going. That kept his wheels turning. So why would he drop that? You know what I'm saying? It's just like you've been doing that for so long, you've been conditioned that way. You're going to get to a point where you're like, okay, I stopped this. Now I don't feel the same or I don't feel right. And when you get to that point in your life where you don't feel right after you created some type of disciplinary action for yourself, like condition yourself, that's when you're there as far as you're ready to graduate to the next level. Because I'm battling with that right now and I had that for years. But that's the whole thing. As I get older, I'm literally trying to keep everything that I have now in my wheelhouse, but I'm also trying to pick other things up in the process and add that into my routine. Now, it gets crazy once you get to my age because you're pressed for time. But if you can really make it manageable and make it happen, dude, like nobody's going to stop you but yourself. So that may have been a ramble, but more or less, some people might be like, what are you talking about? But for the ones that get it, yeah, don't give up on yourself, man. It's a lot of times where I wanted to quit and throw in the towel, but I'd be like, okay, what's the point of me putting in all this work and then quitting? Like, you tell me I did all this for nothing now? Be logical.
It's a grind. So thanks for listening. Like the video. If you need this, listen. If the show is too long, as short as we tried to make this thing, if it's too long, you have a newsletter. You can read the newsletter. You can be in and out with your life
Be done
in
with
3 minutes. All right. Everything we do, we try to condense it. You want the long form, listen to the show. You want the short form, get the newsletter once a week. But hey, thanks for listening. Those details will be in the episode. We'll put it somewhere you can see it. But thanks for listening. As usual, take care. Be safe. Yep, so